Okay, I'm going to make some changes real quick since it looks like some elements got kind of moved around or disturbed. I found this version a minute ago, and for right now, don't worry that these menus are in white and this logo is white. I'm not going to bother to help you flip this until the last minute when we determine whether it would be better to have white here and here once we get your logo in here, or if it would be better for it to be black or something like that. Now, obviously, once you start scrolling on the page anyway, well, I'm not sure where the menu's gone, so I'm not sure how that got turned off. But I'm seeing this picture. It's been put in an element I definitely can tell called a banner, and it's not stretching the entire width because that's not what a banner is supposed to be there for. It's supposed to be for like really small pictures that are maybe only a quarter of the width of the page to have this wiggle movement in it. Plus, you want that opening picture to basically fit to about there so that if they start to scroll, something else happens. At this point, if anybody went to a website and all they saw was just a picture and they had to keep scrolling, by the time they get to about here, they've given up. I think most numbers would show somewhere between 25 and 35% of people would have already abandoned the page without seeing some amount of text on it, just to remind them, yep, you're in the right place. As I was scrolling down too, I noticed a few other things. One, this turned into white. This got pretty wide. It's now kind of hard to read by it being that wide. This part in here looks great, but again, the names turned white. And then down here, the whole background became black, which is making like the short thumbnail version of the post kind of hard to read. And then down here, we have this random logo. And then we have a whole nother blog post down here and another logo, so I could tell what was going on. We've got some extra rows being involved. So I went back to the page real quick. And the first thing I did was just scroll down to the bottom. I knew where that black background had come from. At some point, you'd come down here to page and you change the page color scheme from being uh, dark, light background and dark content, which is how most web pages are. Somebody clicked on this. And the minute that happened, what that did was that dropped in this black, and it also went ahead and grabbed all these, it left the gray stuff gray, but it turned all the black text here into white, thinking that's what you wanted to have done. So I switched that back off. Dark pages are really hard to read, so we're going to leave it set here. I also found a bunch of other stuff down across the bottom of the page. There was a duplicate of this check out our post several times, and there was like 9 blank rows. I left a blank row at the bottom just so that there'd be a gap, so that the bottom of the post wasn't right on that. Again, what that was doing down here was having added all this extra space, and there was a duplicate of the post section. So it was here, and it's showing up here. And that's not what we want to have happen. We just want to use the one. So if Eric posted the first blog here, fantastic. If you were to put yours in right now, poof, it would pop up right beside it. And then the third person's would be here. And then the fourth person's would pop up here. And then the fifth person pops up here. And I've got it set to only keep 6 on the front page. So I think that's better. So I went in and I deleted the duplicate of the blog section. I deleted a bunch of the blank rows down here. I switched this back to being dark, so at this point, it now looks like this. So I think it's closer. Again, we still have a problem with the menu and this odd logo, but that's kind of a last minute thing. The picture is still too big and too square. This is still too wide, but all this is looking great on in here. And here, check out our posts, and here's this first one of his, fantastic, and then it kind of clipped it off here at the bottom. And if we want to put pale gray back in here, or we want to make the background just of the post rectangle gray or something, just describe that and I can help make that happen. So the other things I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in here and say, look, I think that one thing I want to do is on this About Us, the row that it originally been in is gone, which is why the text is running so damn wide. And you don't want to have anything be that wide across the page. So I'm going to come back in here in this one section where it looks like you've combined 2 or 3 sections that had been separately into one long one, and that's kind of dangerous. So I'm going to go ahead and make a new row, and I'm going to drag it all the way to the very top of the page, just to separate this, so that everything isn't in the same block. And then I'm going to come back down in here and I'm going to borrow this liquid spacer and I'm going to put it in here. And then I'm going to go ahead and delete the banner and delete this liquid spacer. I think all this is probably going to be great. I'm going to come back up in here, and on this first one, I'm going to go back in here, and on this big row, I'm going to click on the pencil button, and I'm going to tell the design options here to go ahead and place in a photograph. Rather than putting it in a banner, I'd rather put it in something else. And since I'm having a hard time seeing what some of these are, I'm going to go ahead and just upload a brick wall. A brick wall. Perfect. Set the image. Wait till the preview shows up here. So I'm adding it to the row, and when I add the picture to the background of the row, that is immediately going to give us the ability. I'm just going to temporarily duplicate this text block. I'll duplicate this one. So if instead of hitting the pencil on it, I hit this icon that's these two squares, boink, it makes a duplicate of it. And I'm going to come over here to this part of it, not the pencil to edit it, but to the word text block and this little move symbol. I can grab it, oops, and I can actually move it up inside this row. Then I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to change it to say, welcome to, highlight that, change it to heading 2. And I'm going to click this plus symbol at the bottom of this row because now I have a separate row here that just has the picture in the background and the welcome to. Plus now I have this big one here. I'm going to hit the plus symbol at the bottom of it to say add some more things. Well, I'm going to say single image. And in the single image, I'm going to go ahead and try to maybe load up one of your logos. Looks like it's saved as a ping. Wait till the preview pops up. I'm going to put that there. Go back to edit it. I'm going to tell it not to be a thumbnail, but I'm going to tell it to be full. So it's the full size version. I'm going to come into this column, click on the pencil of the column, and I'm going to tell it, hey, why don't you go ahead and center all of that content. And then I can come back in and put that dangling, the down, well, I'll go ahead and do that right now. I'll insert an icon. I'm going to go ahead and go to the icon selector. I'm going to find an arrow that's pointing down. Yeah, there. I'm going to say that I want the icon color to, I don't know, just for right now, we'll have it be the icon color to be white, the background shape to be circular, the background color to be black, just so it stands out. I'm going to save the change there. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the liquid spacer. I'm going to put it between there and there, and then I'm going to duplicate it again, and I'm going to grab it, put it underneath the icon, and I'm just going to hit the preview button. Let's see what we have going on now. Again, okay, great. Now this is going to have a hard time showing up until we get to a darker version of it, and that liquid spacer is definitely not enough. So I'm going to come in and on the liquid spacer, sorry, on the icon, and I'm going to tell it to be the alignment to be centered. I'm going to change this liquid spacer, instead of it just being 32 pixels, I'm going to change it to be like 120. Now I'm going to hit preview, and by doing that, it's going to definitely move the welcome to down quite a bit. I've got this. I've got my arrow pointing down. We're going to have to play with the color of this, but I think we're starting to get back to where we kind of want it to be. I've got the About Us section. That's great. I will later on worry about something I can do. I want that to be narrower. I don't want that text to be so wide. So I'm going to go ahead and come up here and I'm going to click plus at the top of this column. I'm going to tell it to insert a row up here at the top. Now I'm going to tell this row, I'm just going to look at one of these. Hey, how about this guy? Looks like space, space, space. So if I click on that, it definitely narrowed the row from being the whole width, which is impossible to read any text that wide. It split it up into 3 columns, kind of a fat one in the middle and these side ones. I'm going to grab this About Us text. I'm going to put it right there. Now if I hit preview, it's going to definitely narrow the width of the About Us text. Yeah, look at that. Much easier to read. Follow us on social. All of these guys pop in. That's fantastic. Scroll back on down. Check out our posts. Easier to read on the white background, although I can darken this line or put a light color back in here. There's the bottom of the page. So we're looking good now. And we've got, and most of the time this menu is popping up where it's black with this white strip where we're going to put the cut apart version of the logo I'm going to make for you out of yours once you send it to me. Be able to put that up on every page being very dark. So honestly, all we really have to worry about is, did we want the wall or do we want that skyline? And if we're going to do the skyline, we're going to take it out of the banner and we're going to go back in here and we're going to find this very top row where this little gray thing is, and we're going to click on the pencil, and you would be scrolling down. Oops, going to design options, scroll down, click on the red X to get rid of the bricks. It will turn into a green plus. Click on that, bring in the Cincinnati picture, and by doing that, it's going to stretch it the entire width of the page, which will be awesome. And then we'll be down to our fine tuning. Do we want this to be welcome to? Do we want it to be black? Do we want this to be black? Do we want the bricks to be a lot darker so that your white logo shows up, and then change this from black to white? That's really, really simple. And then again, as the last step, I'll help define the original menu, what color it should be. I just need to see whether it's going to be on the dark Cincinnati picture, which in that case, the white works, or does it need to be black up here because you're going to have it on a really light picture? But already right there, look at that. You guys are almost completely done with this page. That's awesome. And then again, these will all fill in this area here as the rest of your team starts to post for the day. So I'm coming back up here and I'm hitting update to make sure that I save and that this is the newest version. I'm going to send you this video link in just a second. Hopefully, if I made a change and you don't like it, you want that Cincinnati picture back, you just tell me. Tell me anything that you want. But again, I got rid of some of the things that were kind of non-website best practices and kind of rebuilt kind of where we were as the starting point. And with that, I'm going to stop this video.